We're live.
All right.
So it looks like we got the One Percenter podcast underway. My name is Alex Smith, CEO of Spartan Solar, and I'm here with Aaron Williamson, the one, the only, my new life coach. Right at this point in time, I feel like I got someone I could fully believe in with everything I do, whether it be on the meal plan, whether it be on the workout. It's someone I can lean into for absolutely everything in my life, which I haven't had ever in the gym. And it's changing everything for me on both my mental side and health side. So I'm beyond excited for this just to be like a conversation between us, because there's so many questions I haven't had a chance to ask you that I've been very curious about, because you have one of the more unique backgrounds out of anybody I've had the chance to work with in any capacity. So this is going to be something I think everyone's going to take a lot away from.
And your hard work, by the way, is showing dramatically. Alex owns Spartan Solar, which is the fastest growing solar company in the country. So what we're doing together is actually changing the culture of the company. And we run side by side in what we do in business with the foundation of health and fitness. So it's really cool to be on the journey with you and your team.
No, it's a big deal, because I've always been super adamant. I've dropped a million videos, not a million, but I've dropped a bunch of videos about going to the gym and how important working out is to me. And I've tried to get my team in on it, and I've had some success doing it. But it really wasn't until I came across you and I came across Andy that I realized I can make this part of our core. It has to be part of our core to get to the next level. And so it's literally because of you guys that I've realized I can talk about it this way, because I used to think I just can't talk about it in the extremes that, we hear Andy talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's all because we know deep down, everyone looks in the mirror. We know what you want to see. We know where you think you are and what you want to actually be. And you could try to lie to yourself and lie to other people, but sometimes you just need someone to bring that out of you and hopefully tell you what you need to do. So this is the first time that I've ever seen a massive shift like this at the company level. And because of that, our production is skyrocketing. And we're not even talking about producing. We are talking about like how we're doing on sales. We have to talk about the numbers. But most of my conversation with new people I'm bringing in is about falling into alignment with how we're taking care of ourselves, taking care of other people, and taking care of our customers. But you guys brought that to me, and I think that it's the most valuable piece of our entire company that no one else is doing.
Yeah, it's the new standard. You have to set the standard, but at the same time, you can't just talk about it. You have to live it. You have to embody what it means to talk about what you're talking about, just like Andy does, right?
Yeah.
So, dude, I'm excited to see what you and your team do. I mean, when you guys showed up to the gym this morning, I was like, fuck.
Transformations are taking place, right?
It's crazy. It really is. And that one photo you posted the other day, just with the three of you guys, it's really cool to see the follow through and the commitment to it, because you can't lie.
Yeah.
You can't lie in fitness. So
you can't fake it at all. But I wanted to go back, because right now when I introduce Aaron to somebody, because every time, again, when I'm talking to new teams coming over, I'm talking to individuals, I literally tell them you have to join our fitness division. And so Aaron, along with Adam, Justin, everyone else in the Earn It All program, really have put together something that I think a lot of people can buy into. They believe in. It's not just like an absolute cookie cutter script. Like, there's actually humans behind it.
Yeah.
There's humans you can interact with, and there's a formula you can follow every single day and check off, I've done all this. I'm on the right path. But I want to go back in time a little bit, just because I'm super curious. So tell me about your history in the military.
yeah.
Because it led to it's one of the most unique come up stories I've ever heard of, and with some downs in the middle. But if you could just talk through your experience in the military, what you did there,
Yeah.
and what led to like who you are now, honestly, because that had to create some of this.
It gives me the mindset that I have today, the militant, all in, fucking savage, kill it, go into the gym. If I see you in pain, I want to just create more of it for myself. You know what I mean? It's like this really sick. But I grew up just the asshole kid, man. I was the guy. I was the kid you didn't want your kid hanging out with. Just getting in trouble, no direction, no respect for authority, and it led me down a path of literally wasting away every opportunity that I could have had to do something with my life post high school. But it wasn't meant to be, right? So this is where the Marine Corps came in. Around my 10th, 11th grade year, I realized I needed to do something with my life, and the military to me seemed like a viable option, because what else did I have?
Did you go into that thinking like, this is how I get myself I fix myself, or did it
No.
just like, this is what I have to do?
This is what I have to do. Otherwise, I don't know how much longer I'll be able to stay alive, because the path that I was on was going nowhere. And so I decided the Marine Corps, because in my mind, seeing those old school Marine Corps recruiting posters and commercials and the dress blues, I'm like, this is the best of the best. So I joined, man. I ended up in South Carolina, Parris Island. When I got on the Yellow Footprints, I realized I was in another world. And at that point, I knew, though, I was in the right place. And what followed was everything I needed to learn about myself that I didn't know existed, right? Learning how to be a leader, learning how to be a part of a team, learning how to be disciplined, committed, believing in myself. And that's where I just started to thrive. And I created this mindset of, I literally can achieve anything I want to achieve, regardless of what obstacles are in my way or what anyone says. So that was the beginning of this whole thing. I was infantry by MOS, but I had some special duties, like being a pallbearer for the Marine Corps, the world famous body bearers.
Okay.
And then I would go on to do personal security for the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Peter Pace. So that in itself is surreal, because coming from the broke-ass childhood I had to all of a sudden now I've got this crazy clearance, this top-secret SCI clearance. I've got a parking spot underneath the Pentagon that I pull into. We're going into the CIA room to get the Kevlar bag with the brief in it to go pick up the general. I mean, just wild. And the first time I knocked on his door, I was a sergeant in the Marine Corps, and it was so surreal knowing what I was walking into. And that was just the culmination of my Marine Corps service. It was very different than most other Marines.
Did that add like a lot of intensity to how you carried yourself, because you have such a high duty and high responsibility to protect this human?
Yeah.
Did your intensity as a human, just how you walk around, change?
No.
Or was it always that way once you got in there?
I mean, from the time I went to boot camp, like I remember going to boot camp.
Because you're intense. I want to say, like, you're intense in the gym. Like when you brought me to a dark place, I see you smile. You're like, we're gonna go a little further.
Yeah, that's where the growth happens right there. I don't know, man. It's just one of those things where I don't know. I just knew I needed something more in my life, and when I went to boot camp, I came back another person. When I went back home on my first R&R after boot camp, the crew that I used to run with, I had nothing in common with them anymore. I had nothing to say. And I just kind of fell off the grid and just did my own thing and just recreated myself. That was my first transformation, was Marine Corps boot camp.
Because they can't even, at that point, you don't even know what to relate to in conversation. Did you try to meet up with them thinking there would be some similarities, or did you just know, like, we're just out of touch?
Yeah, it was one of those things where you have a get-together after. Like, you get home from boot camp, everyone wants to see you, your old crew, and you get there and you're like, wow. This used to be me. Yeah, that's crazy, because that's not me anymore.
Because they're still doing the same thing, probably.
Same thing, and all through my Marine Corps career, whenever I would come home, and even when I come home now, I'm not at home very often, but those same people who were the popular kids in high school or the ones that I used to hang with, you see them homeless on the corner of a 7-Eleven. Or you see some people working in a gas station, or you just see people who really never really let loose to go out and just take life by the horns and create something special. Everyone just kind of accepted this media.
Where is home?
Oh, Daytona Beach, Florida.
Daytona Beach? Yeah. Oh, no kidding. There's a lot of that there. Now, a lot of people seem like they've never left Daytona Beach once they got. That's not a place I would think you want to just leave your final resting spot to be Daytona.
No, I grew out of Daytona, man. It's what, like, I don't know your upbringing and where you came from, but for me, looking back on it now, Daytona is such a small place. Yeah. I think for people like us, we need to be in bigger cities where there's more going on, because we have such big goals. And I mean, honestly, now we're pretty worldly. I mean,
that's a big one.
We're traveling worldwide now, so we're not. It's why I can't relate to a lot of people, because that mediocre mindset will just literally sit you in one area, and you'll stay there the rest of your life. Yeah. With no real incentive to grow, because you're just living in this place of comfort.
It's crazy. I felt the same way. I was in California for 3.5 years doing solar, and at first it was new and inspiring and engaging. Then over time, I felt like I've not fully conquered that area, but I didn't feel like I was in an area that challenged me or inspired me or gave me energy. And then I was in Orlando. That move got me some energy because it was a new spot, new market, new place for me to try to dominate in my industry. And then now, and I spent 2.5 years there, but it's like I had a house with a comfy couch, and I could go to work and go to the office and perform, but then I had a comfy couch I could come back to or sit on for a little bit longer than I should. There's a little more comfort there than I really needed. And now I'm in Miami in Brickell with a view over the whole world, basically. The couch sucks. The couch is not comfortable. And so there's absolutely nothing I could do really there besides work and get energy from everyone around me. So that move and those small tweaks to the environment, it has completely changed the way I operate every day. And then, of course, being around people like you and Andy and seeing how fast you guys run. I know you guys are just going nonstop right now, absolutely everywhere. You guys are about to take off again this week, right?
Yeah, I'll say this is the most intense travel schedule I've ever been on. I mean, to do what we've been doing is
You guys are kidding
like you got to be built a certain way to handle this work ethic, this grind. You know, people talk about being busy, and there were times before, even when I was in Hollywood, like in the limelight of what I was doing, where I'm like, man, I don't think I could ever get any busier. And then I come here, and it's like, hold my beer.
It's not even close.
Not even close.
So how long were you in the military in total?
So I did a little over 7 years military, active duty, got out, went back overseas, and did 4 more years of contract work. So the contract work that I did, most people think about when you say contract work, you're, a shooter for some security company. And I could have done that. But when I decided to make that move overseas to do that work, it was more about me thinking long-term growth.
Yeah.
So there was a technology mission that was all classified, but it was based around identity management, so biometrics, fingerprints, iris scans, all this stuff. And it's a part of the war that you don't ever hear about because of the sensitivity and the classification, which a lot of it's been declassified now.
Yeah.
But we were the test bed for the Department of Defense biometrics downrange. And we caught a lot of bad guys doing what we did. So my first project I was on was base access, where you're essentially trying to keep all your bases safe from having terrorists being able to infiltrate.
Okay.
And that was through
technology or in person?
Through biometrics. Okay. So in order to get on a base, you got to be enrolled in a biometric system.
Got it.
So when you come on base, you got to identify yourself through a fingerprint. You can't fake that. You can't lie. So the next iteration, or the next evolution of where I went from that was to work directly with the Iraqis. So I became the liaison between the government of Iraq and the U.S. in helping them create their own central repository for biometrics, similar to what we have here in the States with the FBI's AFIS and the DoD's ABIS, which are central repository databases. But I don't know how it held up after we left. You know what I mean? I left in 2009 when we were knee deep in the transition, handing everything back over. I hear stories about what happened afterwards, but I can't confirm it.
Yeah.
But I took a leap of faith to get out of there because it was just getting too dangerous.
Like dangerous for your life? Dangerous?
Oh, yeah.
Because you're the liaison, so you're dealing with, I imagine you don't even know exactly where everyone stands on the other side sometimes. Yeah,
when you're, you have zones, right? You have the green zone, you have the red zone. We kind of sat in a pink zone or whatever you want to call it, which is like you're not in the green, but you're not in the red, but you're borderline because you got Iraqis securing your perimeter, which, if you know anything about security over there, everyone can be bought and paid for.
That must be terrifying, knowing that at any moment this person that looks like he has your back could just turn it on you.
Yeah.
Or could bring in the person that's going to cause the problem.
Yeah, and there was a lot of shit that happened. So the fact that I'm still here and I'm alive and
there's some close calls in that mix.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've got my limbs, I've got my health, so I say I have a responsibility to do something with my life, and that's what I'm trying to accomplish right now. And I thought Hollywood was going to end up being the end all be all.
And guys, because we didn't even touch on that part, but since I started working with Aaron, we obviously have that video, right? That Andy shows that goes through this montage of all these news channels talking about Aaron training all these different celebrities like Zac Efron, Jamie Foxx, The Rock. I mean, the list goes on, right? I don't know who else was on that list. Those are ones that come to my mind right away. But we have this video that shows what he's done and some of these transformations he's made. And oftentimes when I'm trying to get my guys into the fitness division, I'm like, this is kind of why you should believe in this, right? Because if you can change these guys in 3 months from this to that, there's got to be some sort of philosophy. There's got to be some sort of technique that allows you to tap into something to perform at a higher rate. And everyone gets addicted to the work when they can see the result quicker.
Yeah.
Like that's when I'm hooked. That's when a lot of people are hooked. And that's what you've done for me so far. So that's been like the theme of why we've been getting people in, is because we want people to be able to transform, and we want them to do it not just quickly, but do it for life, and hold some of these new processes and philosophies in their head where they can distill it down to other people. These leaders can distill it down to their people within the company. But on that Hollywood note, that's a big part. He had this unique switch over from the military to training. And I just touch on that part for a second, that switch, because it still doesn't make sense, because it was in Missouri, right?
So this was in New Orleans.
Or New Orleans.
Yeah, I took a leap of faith leaving Iraq to go to New Orleans to do some contract work for the Marine Corps. In New Orleans at that time, so you have U.S. Northcom, and then underneath the U.S. Northcom, you have component commands for each branch of service. And New Orleans was Marine Forces North, the Marine Corps' component command under U.S. Northcom. Okay. So I was in conversations with a colonel who was standing up a new section, and we were talking about, coming in there and potentially doing some work together. So I was like, you know what, I'm all in. I'm just going to do it. Took the leap of faith. Boom. Landed there, and everything literally fell the fuck apart. My transition to civilian life for the first time as an adult, I failed massively because that job didn't work out. I couldn't find work. I lost everything I had. I was living in my car. I filed for bankruptcy. My soul was broken. I couldn't find purpose. I was miserable. Yeah. So I remember being in my car, those sleepless nights where you're just replaying everything over in your head.
That got to that moment.
Like, how did I do all these amazing things in the Marine Corps, and then I'm sitting here now broken with nothing and no one? So you have a lot of time to self-reflect. And what I wanted to do was leave and go back overseas, because as weird as it sounds, that was the normal and comfort that I knew. But that was a cop-out, because if I would have went back over there, then I'm just escaping reality. So I needed to face reality. I needed to do something. I had some friends who encouraged me to do what I was good at, which was fitness. I fell in love in Okinawa, Japan back in '99 with the idea of becoming a pro bodybuilder. That's when I got bit by the bug, and fitness became the anchor of my life. So over the years, I helped Marines and family members and just anyone I could in understanding health better, but it was very different. So I was homeless. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get certified as a personal trainer, and I'm gonna compete for a local bodybuilding show.
By the way, I couldn't even imagine being in that situation. Like, I've had some lows, but I've never gotten to being homeless while having this history of, some excellence, right? Some history of, you can look at that and like, man, that is a well-respected, that guy's done some shit. So to be able to have that in the back of your head of what you've done, then to be homeless, I couldn't even imagine, because I've had lows, but I couldn't imagine what that felt like in that very moment, especially when you're thinking about it, because you have that extra time to think.
Yeah, it's the ultimate mindfuck. But I got certified as a personal trainer. There was a local bodybuilding show, the New Orleans regional show. Whoever won it would become Mr. New Orleans. I was like, I'm going to win the show, and I'm going to become Mr. New Orleans, and I'm going to talk about health and fitness all over the city, because it's such an unlikely place to fall into fitness.
Yeah.
And I did. I won the show. I became Mr. New Orleans. I started getting on all the different the different local news stations and just talked about how to live a healthier life. Started personal training at a 24-hour gym uptown New Orleans. And within a few months, Zac Efron walked in a gym where he was doing a movie about a Marine Iraq veteran.
No kidding.
So him and I connected. They brought me to set. I met the producer and director, and they said, we want you to help him learn how to be a Marine, to talk like a Marine, to walk like a Marine. If a Marine was in this situation, how would he respond? How would he react? So I was a tech advisor, and that was my entrance into film and TV. See, I met a lot of guys on that set, and I understood, wow, there's a untapped market here. And I say untapped because there were more films and TV shows being shot there in Louisiana than anywhere else in the world. So this is where I talk about the destiny part of it.
Yeah.
And made some relationships on the crew. They would send me this production report. Every time it was updated, I'd find out a new production would come in. So I created flyers. It was like guerrilla warfare. Every week I was going around New Orleans, just stopping by every production office, dropping off flyers, giving out free.
So they weren't reaching out to you because that connection didn't lead to them, everyone hitting you up. You
No.
actually went, I got to go get my name out there now that we have some foundation.
I made sure that everyone knew who I was and what I did. And then within a few months after that, I became the go-to guy for all productions in Hollywood South. And then I would meet The Rock, Stallone, all these big names would, like, within this very short period of time, which blasted me. I got a lot of notoriety for it.
Yeah.
Directors and producers started training with me, and that's when the whole shift became with acting and stunts. So again, like, really surreal. You know, I talk about the transition, which I didn't have. It was non-existent, right? I went from a combat environment to homeless to Hollywood. There was no place in there where I actually had time to work on myself. So a lot of my Hollywood time, I just remember navigating through it in a way where, I mean, I was miserable, dude. I fucking hated every minute of it, because it's so shallow and empty and void of purpose, and everyone is just this narcissistic, egocentric, materialistic, superficial person.
You felt that across the board?
It was disgusting.
Really?
So, and you're only, it's like everyone's just feeling you out to figure out what you can do. Like, if they got with you, how could you help their career? What could you do for them?
Yeah.
So you're just used. And I got tired of it, but
I figured they would treat you a little, I mean, yeah, they're going to want to use you to get to where they want to be, but I figured they would treat someone like you a little bit differently because you're the Marine. You're the
Hollywood's Hollywood, man.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Your background is erased at that point.
It doesn't matter. Like, yeah. I mean, I was some of the stories I could share, which I'll never share because I don't want that type of exposure.
Yeah.
But I learned so much about Hollywood that it showed me everything I don't want in my life.
Right.
So I just kind of floated through and just did my job.
Did you take some of the wins at least? Because, I mean, you had, I saw some of them, but some epic transformations you were able to create. Maybe you didn't buy into everything else they're a part of, but you yourself delivered some transformations that are mind-blowing because you saw them in the movies.
Oh, yeah. There are some great people in the industry, but unfortunately it's overshadowed by all the nonsense.
Who's your favorite person you got a chance to work with out there?
So I'll say one of my best friends in the industry is J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
I respect. Yeah, I respect Jim Gordon. #GYM Gordon. Look it up and you'll see the viral transformation. But
it's nuts.
But he was such an awesome dude. He's one of the real ones. The Rock was solid to work with. At that time, there were a lot of people I enjoyed working with, but you see the shift in today's society with politics and stuff, and it kind of makes it kind of makes your skin crawl a little bit because you know a lot of stuff that you can't unsee and you can't unknow. Mm-hmm. But if it wasn't for that whole journey right there, I wouldn't be where I am now. You know 100%. What I mean? So it's like everything happens for a reason, and where I'm at now is ultimately where I belong. And
it's like, they may have used you and tried to use a lot of people, but at the end of the day, for me, and I know people in my company, and I imagine a lot of other people get a look at it as like, damn, you have this in your back pocket of what you've done. I want to work with you just because you passed their seal of approval, right? You passed a lot of people's seal of approval, and that alone gets you into, I think, so many more doors than you could ever have without that. Because it's one thing to train a bunch of people at the gym. Like, we run into trainers at the gym all the time, a lot of which don't seem to really take themselves that seriously for some reason. Yeah. It's like they're not really dialed in like I see
which
you
is
dialed
crazy.
in.
Which is crazy.
It's crazy. Now, by the way, I didn't really take notice of it as much, but now I'm noticing because of the level of not only just like how hard you train at the gym, but the level of impact on the nutrition, right? Like seeing how tight your skin is, seeing your veins come out, seeing the way your body actually looks because you're actually properly fueling it. Now I'm looking at other trainers I'm seeing at the gym that used to be like, oh, that's a big dude, but I'm like, that guy's not.
Yeah.
He doesn't have it going on. I was like, I would never want to learn from him. He hasn't figured out how to even really take care of himself because getting big is actually pretty easy.
Yep.
It's getting big the right way, getting big in a way that you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, that is this guy. I don't have any of the fluff. The fluff's gone. So
Yeah.
I've like taken. That's all. When I see people, I used to like put a lot of people on pedestal. Now they're all gone. It's crazy. The pedestals have changed drastically.
Well, dude, the foundation of everything in health and fitness is your mind. You know, people look at training and in the gym from a physical standpoint. The nutrition is going to dictate everything. If the nutrition is off, it doesn't matter who you're working with. It could be the best trainer in the world, but your results are going to be minimal at best. Until you can wrap your mind around taking care of your body, I say, you know, giving your body what it needs, not what you want. Once you can adopt a different mentality, nothing will change much. But when you do adopt that new mentality and you actually cherish your body and you give it all the right stuff, then the goals you have will start to come in almost on a weekly basis, sometimes on a daily basis. You'll wake up sometimes and you'll just see new lines and you'll just start to see all the things that you want to see. But once the diet's off, you see the water build back up, you see those lines disappear.
It's terrifying.
So the food here in this country is mind-blowingly terrible. So you have to be really aware and conscious about what you eat, because even when you think you're eating healthy, chances are you're not.
Yeah.
Like you go over to Europe and you can eat the same, like I can go over to Europe and eat pizza and pasta and stuff and it have zero impact on me. I eat it here, I'm inflamed and my stomach's a mess. Like, and that's what people are eating every day, these processed foods. We're feeding our society foods that in other countries are banned. Like I still have a hard time wrapping my head around how we could be doing that to our country, to our people. So being here, working with you and Andy and doing all the things we do together, it's creating an army of soldiers for health. And because when you can help leaders change the culture of their company, it's like a pay it forward deal, right? Because you change your employees are going to change their families, and then you just keep spreading to the point where you create something that's incomprehensible.
Well, I've never been more excited to distill the information I'm learning down to everybody because I know how real it is. And when he brings up processed food, I've heard people say processed food's not good. Like, it's not something new to me that I've heard. I've just never really engaged in the other side of avoiding all of it and what it does for you. And then I saw some videos on how processed food, just the universe, right? It just wants to put the videos in front of your face of how processed food is digested and how it still stays there intact, barely moving, while like if it's saying pizza, right? Pizza overseas in Europe or in Italy, right? Made from scratch, it'll go right through you. It'll be completely fine. It won't hold up, won't cause problems. And then seeing what processed food will do inside of you, it's scary because this is the first time in my life that I thought I've taken nutrition seriously for little brief stints, but it was never sustainable because I was just doing what I thought was the right thing to do online, which was chicken, broccoli, and rice. Yeah. And ground turkey. Like
minimal
and that's what I expected you to give me. I expected you were going to give me a meal plan that was going to consist of 5 to 6 meals a day. That was going to be these little containers because I've gone down this route before. And yes, I'm going to get shredded, but I'm going to have no mental energy. Yeah. I'm going to be dying in business, which was okay before I had something that was, again, we're building the most massive fucking army in the world. Before doing that, that's okay if I don't have as much energy. But now I need as much fortitude, as much strength, as much energy as possible mentally above everything else. I thought you were going to put me on a plan that was, especially with the calorie count, because you dropped my calories to like 2,200. It's pretty low compared to what, I don't know how many calories I was eating before, to be honest. Yeah. But seeing that was what I expected you to give me versus what this is, Can you talk a little bit about your philosophy on this? Because now I'm not touching chicken.
Yeah.
And I've never felt more satiated. Like, I'm not hungry. I'm eating way less. I'm not hungry, and I'm feeling way better. Everything, my people are commenting that my face is looking thinner. I'm recovering better. So I want you to go into a little bit of your philosophy on the actual nutrition side, because it's made the world of a difference for me in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So I love everything you just said, because it's so important to be able to understand that. When I first got in this game, it was about physical transformations based on what I knew from my years of bodybuilding, which, if you're in the fitness community, you're basically just trying to meet macros.
Mm-hmm.
You can fill macros with fucking cereal.
Yeah.
Because you're just trying to meet a number. It wasn't until 2020 that I actually started to really dig into the human biology side and understand the internal health side in terms of how detrimental our food actually is. Because I was having people come to me who were, chronically sick and had these autoimmune disorders and just all these things that I'm like, this has got to be just from the food you're eating. So I started looking at everything differently and started to understand different things like methylation and hypoxia, and it just really understanding how detrimental inflammation is internally, high blood sugar, so many different things. And when you get into understanding all that and reading about it, you just go down these crazy rabbit holes where you just read for hours and you watch podcasts, and it brings you into a whole new world. So I started implementing all of this, and right now, like within 90 days, most of our clients, my clients, our clients, Earn It All, the Elliott Army Fitness Division, we get you off of your medications within 90 days.
No kidding.
And so what I like to do is I don't like to use those anti-nutrient based foods, right? The egg whites, the chicken breasts, like all the things that
everyone thinks you need to eat to get into shape, and to be healthy.
Yeah, and you talk to people when you think about a diet, like in your mind, you thought I was going to give you a certain thing. Yeah. But what you got was actually whole eggs and Greek yogurt and mixed berries and fruit and steak and all the things that society will tell you, don't eat that because it'll wreck your cholesterol. Yeah. You'll die. It's so unhealthy. I eat over 2 pounds of red meat a day. I probably eat about a pound of fish, 6 to 7 whole eggs. I'm eating Greek yogurt, a bunch of fruit. I try and get most of my carbohydrates in around training. But I just had my blood work done again recently within like the last 4 weeks. And I'll tell you what, the doctor who took my blood work, he was like, dude, I've never seen cholesterol this good. So it just goes to show that what we're being fed in society from the top down is a fucking lie.
Yeah.
And I'm here to help dispel the myth and to break that cycle of being a slave to what these motherfuckers are telling us, because it's all bullshit. I want to get everyone off of medication. I want to get everyone as healthy as possible, and I want to get everyone looking like a fucking cyborg.
Dude, it's working.
Yeah, and you feel great. You think
amazing.
Great. Your body's changing faster than anyone you see in the gym, right? You walk into a gym, you see people mindlessly moving weights. There's no intention behind any of it. They're the same people you see every day, every week, every month, every year with no change.
Yep.
And I think it's awesome that they're in there, but it's like when you want to feel like you're making progress, when you want to see the progress, if you're going to be doing it that consistently. So that's where the training approach comes in, right?
And real quick, going back on the diet, the one thing that has really shifted with me though is now that I've been eating like filet mignon, I just be eating filet mignon every day. I can eat at restaurants. I go out to lunch all the time. I go out to dinners all the time. I can travel and I can still consume basically more or less what you have the protocol on. So I don't feel restricted at all, which is a huge difference from before. Before I and yeah, it is best to get those meals made yourself, so there's not any extra sauces on it or anything. But overall, now I can just live the life that doesn't feel restricted while consuming the things that give me the most energy, so I can transform every single day. And I never consumed steak like this before. The thing I've noticed, though, is that most people that talk about red meat and talk about steak, they go to the full extreme of carnivore diet.
Yeah.
And they go to that extreme, and it puts off a lot of people, including me, because every time I've gone to an extreme, the pendulum swung the other way, right? And I know that's how it usually works. If you go too far this way, you're bound to go back the other way. It's better to stay somewhere in the middle so you never go too far on either side. And with this approach, it's just like full, right? It's got the rice, I got the filet mignon, the salmon, the Greek yogurt, the berries, some of the honey, the whole eggs too. I stopped whole eggs for the longest time. I thought my body wasn't able to process whole eggs well. So I stopped eating eggs for like a long time. And now that I've been consuming eggs, I mean, I don't feel like I need to eat for 6 hours after I have my eggs, my just whole eggs, berries, and Greek yogurt. So I'm just sharing this with you guys because it's made a shift where I thought I needed 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 calories in a day because sometimes I eat pasta and pizza. I don't know how far I tip the scale over.
Oh yeah.
But now I'm living off of probably 22, more like 22, 2,300, 2,100 if I'm really dialed in that day.
Yep.
And I have significantly more energy. And I'm lifting better than I've lifted before. So I just want to touch on that. The nutrition's like very holistic. Yeah. It's not just sticking on just red meats or just on the fish, which I think is an approach that people can actually live with and not have, a 1 year stint, a 1 month stint, or a 2 year stint, which is majority of these other programs seem to have stints.
Well, it's about taking what you're doing now and creating the new lifestyle.
Yes.
Because at the end of all this, whenever that ends up being, you'll never be able to go back to where you were because of what you know now and knowing the way you feel. And so those first couple weeks are what I call a detox phase, right? Because you're trying to stick with single ingredient, whole, nutritious foods. You detox your body, you get rid of all the inflammation, not through some silly ass fucking tea, but actual food. And then once you get into like that third week, you know what I mean? You start incorporating some fasting
The silly
strategies.
ass tea got me though, because you see those ads all the time.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking crazy.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, a true detox is actually giving your body what it needs.
Which is the opposite of what I thought too. I thought it meant I had to not eat anything for 3 days, 4 days, or just have this one herbal supplement. So you've like rewired what I view as a detox. I feel great detoxing.
Yeah, and it shows. Like when I saw you this morning,
he's saying it shows.
This dude is fucking massive.
We'll get the before pictures.
In 90 days, like when we kick off the new year, I can't wait to show you guys what he actually looks like and what his employees look like. It's going to be just.
We'll run the podcast back shirtless.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we should.
That's how it
go down. And we'll insert a clip of this.
Yes.
As a throwback to the conversation, right? But anyway, when you can just really adopt a new mentality and base it around internal health and longevity, your whole life changes because you're going to feel so good about everything you're doing and you're going to see the results coming in. So.
And before we go to like the workout side, which is, I thought I've been working out the right way for the longest time. I've been wrong. And I'll be the first to admit it. I've been significantly wrong because I'm feeling something change in a way it hasn't changed before. But on the nutrition side and on the diet side, I forgot what I was going to bring up, but there's a really important part that you've brought up to me. You told me it's not, you got to think about when you're eating food, is this serving me or is this stealing from me? And you brought up like sometimes you need to make that decision for that lifestyle change, what it's going to be. And there are some words you told me one day. Can I repeat them?
Sure.
So we were sitting down and after the leadership retreat, so we had an event in Orlando. It was when me and Andy started getting closer. It was when I started meeting Aaron. We started getting closer before we decided to link arms and do this partnership to take over the world together. And when I was there, I thought I was in good shape. And I was like, I'm not my most shredded, but I was like, I thought I was decent. And then we did I'll start backtracking. We did a pavement workout. And we're just all on the pavement. It's like 60, 70 of us or so from the company. They're leading it. Aaron's leading it. And I'm thinking that I'm just going to dominate this. Like, I'm not going to fail. I'm not going to die. And we're just doing things that require no weights. There's no like barbells. There's no heavy weights involved. And there's fences all around us. And I felt like a fighter in the UFC holding on for dear life onto these fences, just praying I don't go down. And then extremely pissed that all of my guys are seeing me in this shape. I was pissed. And I know Sam Manley, his transformation's nuts. I showed you some pictures from his.
That was a hell of a
He felt the same way because his team is seeing him perform at such a high level in the leaderboard for sales. Like he's dominating it. But then when reality hits, his true physical capabilities are shown, he's unable to do it. And I was holding the fence. I was dying. I was just like, I couldn't even like cheer my own team on. That's what pissed me off the most. I wanted to be the guy that could run back and lead people over that were struggling. And I was the guy fucking struggling then. And then Jackie ran a double lap around me. And I'm like, this is insane. And then I go into my I say RS7 is not to brag about the car, but it's a nice car. I go into the car and I'm leaving and my head is just pounding in a way I haven't really felt before. And Michelle, my girl's sitting right next to me. And then all of a sudden we're on the highway and I'm like, I'm good. I drink this little hydration drink that's probably been sitting in the car for too long. So that triggered something. I drink this drink and then all of a sudden I go to, like, I can make it without throwing up. I open the window and I'm like, I can make it. I'm on the highway and there's nowhere to go. So I go to throw up out the window and you're on the highway. So what does it do? It blows right back in. Ugh. So it all blew back in. And then I just gave up on throwing up out of the window because I'm like, these guys are just watching me put on a show. The car's driving by. I just threw up in my lap 5 times. In my lap, just nonstop. Pulled over. I'm drenched. Just drenched in my own throw up. And then we have to go shower. Michelle cleans up the car. She's an angel.
Horrible.
Because I had to shower, go back to the meeting, right? Or go back to the training that Andy's about to put on. And that was just from the first interaction with like, okay, this is unacceptable. And you put a lot of people on notice. Remember Blue Shirt?
Yep.
Jake Branham?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
He got roasted in the comments for his physique, his body language. I don't know if you've seen what he's been doing, but so many people that got put on notice either by their own team or in his case by the whole freaking world, right, have made massive shifts. But it takes that high impact moment, which you don't really ever get unless you put yourself in a situation where you're willing to put it all on the line. And that high impact moment made a significant shift in me. And then flash forward, we're sitting down and now I'm pissed at myself, right? Because I'm like, I'm not who I thought I was. I'm not at all. Because just because you can lift in the gym and you could lift some good weight has nothing to do with what shape you're in at all. Like how you look and how you feel and how your capabilities. And then I'm sitting down with him one-on-one and we're talking about, the plan moving forward and how we're going to go. And we're talking about my situation. I'm like, sometimes at night, well, actually, it's most of the time, I'll order pasta, I'll order pizza, and then I'll order Cold Stones and dessert. And I thought it was okay. And I've talked about it in a fashion, and I apologize for doing this before, where I talked about it to people like it was okay. Because I still looked, better than most in my mind, right? And he goes to me, and I don't want to mess this up, so I'm going to try my best to get it down. Do you have it down? I'm going to try my best to get it down. So he goes to me, he's like, Alex, it's just the right thing. He said just the right thing to me. He's like, Alex, not to get political, but, it's not to get political, but I feel like I know what side of the aisle you lean on. And I was like, I don't know where this is going. I was like, yeah, they're right. You know what side I lean on. I was like, yeah, okay. He's like, yeah, not to get political. He's like, but when you tell me that you're not taking care of yourself, you're in this shape you're in right now, when you're eating ice cream, you're eating dessert, you just don't care, right? You're eating what everyone else eats. He's like, you know what you're telling myself and you're telling the rest of the world? He's like, you're on the left. He's like, you are what they had in mind. You are doing exactly what they do, and in this situation, you're your own problem. And he said that, and I was just like, I'm done. That's it. This Cold Stone shit, this way I'm living, this accepting that I don't have to look my best, I don't have to try my best. That I had a 6-pack before, it's not everything. That ended for me right at that very moment. I latched onto that, and I latched on to, does this steal from me or does this serve me? And those two little philosophies in my head have completely changed the way I interact with food. So I just wanted to bring this whole story full circle for this was our launching date for me and you starting to work together. I'm like, okay, that's all it takes sometimes, is a high impact moment and then a couple new philosophies you can lean into. I'd imagine it's kind of like what a fighter gets, by his side coaches, right? His coach on the sideline. They know just to say the right thing to get him going.
Yep.
And I don't know if you say that to everybody, but I don't know if you know just how to find. I don't know if you just dig in and know how to find someone's thing, but you found my thing.
Everyone's got a trigger.
Yeah.
And in the conversations and me paying attention to the people I'm going to be working with, I'll find out the thing that I need to say to you, so that I just live in your head. Because every time you go to eat something disgusting or drink something nasty, you're going to hear me say it over and over and over again.
You guys roasted me today in the gym. Aaron and Andy just dug into me about what they thought of me back then. What was Andy saying again? I forget his exact words.
I mean, he said you were fat and out of shape. He knew you weren't the leader that you were meant to be.
Well, he was like, you. I thought you were gonna throw it all away. I'm like, dude, you went on for like 5 minutes. I'm like, I love this because I need this.
Yep.
But it was like, this is the fact that you guys thought this. I'm like, almost wish someone would have said that to me sooner. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it has more impact now too, though.
Yeah.
Right. You heard what you needed to hear back then, but those those little boot camps that we do,
Yeah.
it's really about trying to bring everyone to a level where you have to really have an honest conversation with yourself about where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about that wake up call. It's about knowing now you can't hide anymore. Remember back to the fitness, like in fitness, you can't like,
Yeah.
you can't fake it. You can't cheapskate it. You can't cheat it. Like fitness is the true definition
You can't buy it.
of discipline, right? Like when you look at someone and they've got a six pack or you see someone who's massively strong, it's like there's a level of discipline that they're putting into their bodies that a lot of people today can't really comprehend or understand. And also when you walk into a room and you're in shape, the conversation's automatically different because people take you more seriously.
Yeah, I used to have. I convinced myself to wear long. That's what Andy said too.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
like, I
long
knew you were
sleeve.
wearing a long
Long
sleeve for a
sleeve.
reason. You're wearing a long sleeve. You're wearing a long sleeve to hide something, and I was like, damn. And then ever since then, and now getting into better shape, I'm like, I'm trying to find ways to get shorter shorts. I'm
Yep.
trying to find ways to
Smaller
show more,
tanks.
smaller tanks, so that I have to show what's happening, good or bad.
Yep.
Like it has to be put on display every single day for myself and for everyone else. And you're right. When someone walks into a room, when you walk into a room with Andy, like all the attention flows right there because it's so rare to find people that live what they're saying. And then even if they're not talking about it, you just know that they live by some sort of level of discipline that everyone deep down and rooted somewhere inside of them wants.
Yeah, and Andy talks really really hard on people.
Yeah.
But it's from the heart. And we both talk in different ways, but everything that we talk about is really because we care. And it's like it's finding the trigger that will get you to wake up and understand how important your health is. Because what happens is, I just recently said this on another podcast, but we just navigate through life being complacent with our own health, and we'll worry about or we'll put emphasis and priority on everything that doesn't matter, all the material things, and then you hit a point where you have a stroke, you have a heart attack, you're in the hospital because your liver, your kidneys are malfunctioning, or you have some physical ailment, internal ailment that's happening where it's like now you want to address it or now you have to address it. And sometimes it's too late.
Yeah.
So why wait until it's too late when you can take the steps now to feel better, to sleep better? Like everything can just be better in your life. I think one of the most important things that people miss is when you're healthier, your brain, your the way you think about things is actually much clearer.
Mm-hmm.
You're not so bitter and toxic. That whole gut,
So true.
that whole gut brain axis, that whole
Yes.
connection there is a real thing, and when you're bogged down with inflammation, it massively affects the way you think.
It's crazy you say that because in the last couple of days, last couple of weeks, I've been around some people that I know don't take care of themselves, and I sense like a bitterness in their eyes, in their tone.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's painful to see it because, yeah, there's some issues that might cause that pain, but it only is displayed from people I really run into that don't take care of themselves at all. The people that take care of themselves don't really get into that zone.
Yeah.
Especially over little things. The little things seem to become really big things when someone's not taking care of themselves. From my experience as a leader, we have 300 and something people in Spartan Solar, about to be 10,000, right? Things are about to get a little bit nuts, and you're about to lead the largest fitness army in the history of America, I think.
Fuck yeah.
Like, I think that's what's going to happen.
100%.
But I've noticed that, and it's hard because you can't really. It's hard for me to say anything to them, to tell them
Because they won't get it.
they won't get it.
Yeah.
They immediately don't get it, and you're like, it just goes right back to the problem. So I don't even know how to tap through that. How do you tap through it on some people? Or is there some people, because this is a question I think that anyone listening to this, especially leaders that run teams, where we're trying to get everyone to do the right thing. Obviously, we have to be the example. We know that. But say you are doing the right things. You are the example. You are in the best shape. You're running into someone that is not taking care of themselves. Maybe they're doing great in the business and they're performing, which happens all the time. They're performing, but this side of their life that we know is more important than that side, they may think this is what matters, but we know what really matters deep down. They're not responding well to it. They're not engaging with it. They're not joining the fitness division. What do you do with those people? How do you get that out of them, or do you just at some point leave it alone? What is your approach with that?
Well, I think there's different approaches to it, and it really stems from the leadership. Like when you're trying to change the culture of a company, sometimes that means that this new culture, everyone doesn't belong in the new culture.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in some cases, you might have to let some people go if they're not willing to level themselves up or to step up and meet the new standard, because they want to live in this state of comfort. They don't want to be pushed. They want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
They don't want to be forced to take care of their health because they just enjoy mediocrity. And unfortunately, those people don't belong in that top 1%. Like here in the Elliott Group, we're making history in everything we're doing.
Yes.
There can't be any type of thinking that falls within the realm of mediocrity, because if you do, you are the weak link. You will create problems and issues, because if you have to level up and meet the new standard. So it really comes back to the leader in terms of how hard they want to push to adopt this new culture. And when you adopt the new culture, you have to make hard decisions to let people know you're serious about it.
And what do you say to the person that's like, I've had the six pack, I got into that shape, I don't have the six packs, I'm not in that shape, but I've had the six pack nonetheless, and it's not everything. It's just not everything. It's not what it's all about. Almost like putting that, and it's not the six pack itself, but almost like putting that framing it in a way to where it's like the fact that I or you or Andy put so much emphasis on that, we're missing the picture of some sort. What would you say to that person? Because I've ran into that exact scenario play out.
The six pack terminology is just a way to talk about the new standard, or talk about a standard. You don't have to have a six pack, but you have to put your health first. You have to put emphasis on your health, because if you don't, then you're like you're like that guy on stage when everyone's wearing black and you're over here wearing pink. You stick out, and it's not a good way. But it's also talking. I think being able to talk to those people in a way that they can understand what's happening to their bodies internally.
Yeah.
And the repercussions that could come out of it. We have a doctor who we work with called Dr. David Boyd. He runs a company called Blind Spot, and we've all done this blind spot, right? So you can think about, let's just say we take your blood work and it comes back because in the last year you're like, I want to be so healthy. So we take your blood work, it comes back, and we're like, oh my God, this is the best blood work I've ever seen. But prior to that year of you becoming healthy, you lived a life of alcohol, bad food, no sleeping, high stress, whatever the case may be. You don't know what those years of living in that space did to your internal health. So blind spot is a way to go in and actually, I say it's like taking all your insides and throwing them up on a TV screen in 3D, because now we can look at your heart, we can look at your brain, we can look at your liver, your kidneys, your prostate. We can look at everything and see what the damage is. So just because your blood work says you're healthy now,
right.
Well, now we're looking at your heart that says you've got 20-30% calcification, or we've got some spots in your liver or your thyroid that could potentially be cancer. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's too late. So why not instill some new thoughts into your employees about, like, hey, I care about you. Let me explain why, and let me explain what you're doing right now and how detrimental it could be to not only yourself, but think about your family, right? Because I say when you're when you're unhealthy, when you're lazy, it's disrespectful to those who actually believe in you and who love you and care for you. So it's basically like giving them the fuck you and the middle finger. So like I say, everyone's got triggers. It's being able to find whatever that trigger is to move that employee or that person into a realm where they can maybe have some new thoughts, or maybe it might make them want to go read a little bit more to understand what you're saying. And I don't ever say anything to degrade anyone, but I just want to say it just to be real.
Yeah. I would say that this podcast we're doing, that's what I was hoping to get. Because sometimes for me, I'm not as articulate on the behind the scenes, what's going on in your body, and the ways to explain why you need to do this above and beyond some of the easy to explain surface level visible parts of it. So that's what I was hoping this podcast would allow some people in Spartan Solar to understand, then hopefully in the rest of the world. And it's the impact we're having right now on people outside, because everyone's posting that they're in the gym, everyone's tagging everybody at Spartan Solar. So it's like it's an echo chamber right now, where everyone's seeing that this is what we put a lot of attention toward. And even my mom, it's my favorite thing I get from her. I get a text every little while from her, and she texts me, it was like yesterday or 2 days ago. She says, honey, I just want to let you know I'm down 34 pounds and I'm 107 days alcohol free. And I'm like, that's the coolest thing in the world, because
Does it give me goosebumps?
It gives me goosebumps too, because I used to want to do everything in my power to get my mom to go to the gym, and I used to drill her. I used to be like, Mom, come on, it's time to get into shape. It's time to work it, because we want everyone in our family to live forever, right?
Yep.
We want everyone to live a healthy life. We want everyone to feel the energy we can feel when we understand what the gym can do for us, how much energy it can give us. We want everyone to feel that energy. And every time I drill her and try to go down that route, it just never lasted. It was almost like it almost was like it would just, if it did hit, it would bounce back really fast, because but then as soon as it turned into this, we're going to lead by just pure example, and then not just us, but so many people within this community are blasting it within Earn It All, within your group, within our group, and combine that effort, that impact. Now she's dialed into it, and she's like, I have to be a part of the great things you're doing.
Yep.
And it's just, my mom watches my social media. So shout out to my mom. She watches my Instagram. She watches everything. She's the biggest supporter. She's the biggest fan. She's always proud of me. And then she's like grabbing the stuff we're doing right now. And she may not be getting out of the gym in the way we are, but she's eating healthy. Yeah. She's cut out a lot of the bad stuff. She's cut out the alcohol. And it's had such an impact, but I've even had to actually speak to her about it.
Good job, Mom.
Good job, Mom.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, dude, there's so much I could talk about. So to anyone watching this, Elite Army Fitness Division, my team, the Earn It All group, like, we have such a massively successful online training platform, right? We have some really cool programs that you can get into and just be a part of a community, because sometimes coming into one of these coaching platforms, you don't ever know what you're going to get. But when you come into ours, like if I was to open up the back end of our platform right now, and you can just see how active everyone is, and everyone's networking and motivating it. It's really cool. But 602-900-8703 is the phone number. Send a text if you're interested in getting on our program. I promise you, if you're dedicated, if you're committed, it'll change your life in 90 days.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, it's like when you just think about, like, let's just say you're an arborist or a botanist,
okay,
right? And you have a plant or a tree, and that plant, the leaves are dying, or you have a branch that's dying, or you have something that's off. What do you do as an arborist or a botanist?
You usually cut that part that's off, or you try to.
No. You go in the soil.
Right, I'm wrong.
You go in the soil, and you see what's deficient in the soil,
okay,
and then you replenish it. And then boom, the leaves come back, the bark comes back, it repairs itself. But here in this country, we address our bodies, like you just said,
right.
Cut it off. And in this case, oh, you feel this way? Here's a medication, right? So what's happening is you're eating garbage, which is creating inflammation in your body. So if you have any type of predisposition to anything, Alzheimer's, dementia, high blood pressure, kidney disease, liver disease, whatever it is, that inflammation is going to spark that disorder, and then it's for sure going to present itself. So now this, let's just use high blood pressure for an example, presents itself. And then you go to the doctor because you have high blood pressure now.
Right.
And then you get put on a medication that you really don't need. And then now you're on that medication, you're continually shoving your body full of shit, which is going to lead to another issue. Back to the doctor, you're on another medication.
Yeah.
So you're on another medication now that you don't need because you're being diagnosed with things that you don't have, and your life, your quality of life becomes subpar, and you just start feeling like you're losing yourself. And you hear people talk about, oh, it's just part of age. No, it's not part of age. It's because of what you're eating. Take away the shit food, the inflammation goes away. You don't have the issue that presents itself. You don't have Alzheimer's, dementia, high blood pressure, whatever. It doesn't present itself. Therefore, you're not on the medication.
Because that one thing leads to all the other. Because you go to anywhere and you see these like pill containers designed for people that get to that stage where they have to take 10 pills a day to solve this problem, to solve that problem that goes to the next one. So if you kill the first problem yourself, it never leads to all those other pills. Because you're right, that is where most people end up going. I remember even in my family seeing like all the pills that were taken to combat each issue, and this issue caused this issue, and then you're worried about one of them maybe killing you.
And at the foundation of it all you had to do was change the way you eat.
But then they don't go down that rabbit hole. That's not the one that's like immediately
because it's too hard.
It's hard.
The doctors won't tell you what to eat because they don't know.
Usually they don't eat right anyway.
If I told you how many doctors I have as clients, and when I talk to them, they're like, I know nothing about nutrition.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. And they're the ones who are in charge of our health. When you go into a hospital,
they know everything about the pills though.
Everything about the pills. But
and
when you go into the hospitals, what kind of food do you see that you can eat?
Garbage. All garbage.
So it's just really wild, man. And so, I said, I said earlier in this podcast, when I came back, I feel like I had a responsibility to do something with my life. I made it back through some things that, in my mind, I feel like I shouldn't have made it back. So I feel like there's a really deep purpose that I have in my life and what I'm doing. And Hollywood was a place where I was able to, establish some street cred.
Yeah.
But now I'm in the right place where we can actually share everything we know to change people's lives in a way that is on such a large scale. You're a perfect example of what you're doing, because your company is growing so fast, and that as these new employees come in now, you have this whole new standard of telling them like, hey, this is what we stand for. If you want to be a part of our company, like you have to take care of your health.
What do you say to the person? Because I get this every once in a while. It kills me inside. And I have my response. It's $99 a month, because that's what it is for us, because we pay for half, right? So it's like $99 a month to be part of this, which is, it's no money. But what do you say to the person that goes, it's $99 a month. It's too much money. It's just a lot of money.
I mean, I don't even have a response for it.
There's like nothing to say. It hurts to hear it.
Yeah, and it just goes back to the point of showing how ignorant people are in terms of putting value on their health. That $99, I guarantee they'll go out and buy anything else without even thinking about it. So, and they're the kind of people who, those are the kind of people who sometimes they have to just change by watching everyone else change.
Yeah.
Because you can't talk to them about it.
It was funny. Soriano, one of our leaders, they did 5 miles yesterday for not hitting their numbers, and he wanted to make sure they're all in the fitness division, right? So it's $99. They wanted to make sure they're all in it. And what he did, he goes, all right, everyone, so we're thinking about doing another trip. We just did Colombia. We're thinking about doing another trip. Would raise your hand if you'd be down right now to throw down $100 to rent a private jet so we can go to Colombia or something. Everyone rose their hand.
Everyone.
He's like, so you're telling me, then he just pivoted it right too. So if you're willing to put $100 to go party today, I mean, you have the money to go do it, then you definitely have the money right now to join the fitness division and be a part of something that's going to change your life. And I was like, that's the perfect example of how fast people will throw money into the thing that's going to hurt them versus the thing that's going to help them. And then they always think they don't even like think twice. It's so easy not to think twice about the money going there. But when the money goes to like putting it to you, like in that form, for some reason, it's like we tighten up about it.
And and I think a lot of that too is there's a disbelief in thinking that that's not for me. Like there's no way I could do that. I'm too busy. I have this problem or this and this. But really, in all my years of experience, you have people come in. They're like, tell me, I want to know all about your program. And then you tell them everything about the program. And they're like, yeah, I just need to think about it a little bit more. And you're like, well, you've got all the information you need. You just need a transformation, right? So they're the kind of people that they don't have a belief system enough in themselves to actually hold themselves accountable,
because then they won't get anything from it,
to taking care of
Yeah.
themselves.
so it won't go anywhere because they'll, even if they do it, they know they're not going to do it.
Yeah, because you know how it is, man. You can make an excuse for anything, right?
Yeah.
Like you can tonight. Oh, dude, it was such a long day. I worked out 3 times. I burned 7,000 calories. I earned a pizza.
Yeah.
Your brain can talk you into anything,
Yeah.
literally anything.
Yeah.
But if once you get in control of your thoughts, then it's a whole, like, everything changes, man. It's a whole nother level of thinking.
And I want to go down 2 rabbit holes because I know we're going on, because this stuff fires me up. I could talk about this stuff with you forever,
Yeah.
to be honest. One was what you brought up with sugar. And I've noticed this change. I used to have this massive craving for desserts. I mean, I love Reese's. I love chocolate. I love Cold Stones. I love fudge. Like that stuff. I would have it almost every night.
Yeah.
Like it'd be like just part of it. Even if I was completely full, I just had to have it. But then you brought up something about what happens in the tongue, and there's this gland or receptor in the tongue. Can you elaborate on that part? Because once I detached from it and I understood that was part of it, it was a lot. It'd be useful for people to hear because it made it a lot easier for me to realize if I just don't do this for a certain amount of time, I actually might not crave it. And that's what I needed to hear.
Yeah, there's a receptor on the back of your tongue that creates a dopamine response. So like it's an actual addiction. Like I've worked with clients who are literally addicted to sugar, and well, one, elevated blood sugar for 10 years plus can lead to Alzheimer's and dementia, right? Which
Never hear about that though.
Right. In
Ever.
other countries, it's called what it is, which is type 3 diabetes. But you have these food companies who hire food scientists to create these foods to get you addicted to them, like the sugar and like the foods you just mentioned. I talk or I tell this to a lot of people just for perspective. I can have you eat a meal right now, the perfect meal, super clean, but feed you a lot, like overfeed you to the point where it's like when you're done you got to unbutton your shit
Okay.
and like you can't breathe, and then I can give you one Dorito. I'll give you one Dorito and you eat it and you'll be ready to eat another meal
Oh yeah.
because of the response.
That's
from,
crazy
from
because
that
that's exactly
receptor.
what happens. I'm full, but I always got room for dessert, right?
There it is.
That's that.
That's it. Yeah, and again, it's like, all right, well, just think about what that does. You ate a good meal. Maybe it was like 700, 800 calories. You're good. But because of that response that your body has to that sugar, now all of a sudden you're jamming down like 1,000 more calories of garbage. And you know the saying, what's it, Pringles, you can't just eat one. What's typically in general when you have shit in your house, it's hard to stop yourself from eating the whole bag or eating the whole can of whatever it is because of that dopamine response that you're getting. So it's like a drug. It really is like a drug. I've had to detox some of my clients off of sugar, and it would be the same type of thing as if you were detoxing someone from alcohol or from some type of drug. Like they literally have such a hard time doing it, and I've seen people go batshit fucking crazy trying to get rid of sugar. It's the wildest thing, but it's also infuriating to me that we're in a place in society right now that we're willing to do this to our people.
Yeah.
And I want to be someone who can stand up for it and teach you how to not, how to be better for yourselves and your family so that you can help other people.
Yeah, because now I'm at the point where every once in a while I'm like, that sounds great, but I'm really pretty detached from craving it.
Yeah.
Like my cravings are very low for it. I more go like straight to like, man, something like some guac, a salad, and a salmon or steak. Like my head's like, this is gonna feel great. So my head's like, I'm rerouting where I go when I get hungry now instead of that to this. And it's amazing because it's easy. It's becoming easier. The friction's going down every single day on what I should be doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I talk about the structure of a meal too. A lot of people don't understand macros. And just to explain macros, because you hear it so much, when you look at a meal, there's a structure for a meal. You should always have protein, right? Protein should be the foundational source for every meal. It's satiating. It's your muscle food, your muscle recovery, your muscle maintenance, because it has the amino acids and all the things that you need for proper muscular recovery and maintenance. And then you have your energy source, which is either your carbs or your fats. If your carbs are high, you want to lower your fats. If your fats are high, you want to lower your carbs. You always want to offset them. So you don't want to have
both at the same time.
meal that are both high, because then you'll for sure put your body in a suboptimal state of being able to process that in the right way.
Oh, that's interesting. That's an easy way to look at it too.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So anytime your carbs are higher, just make sure the fats are lower.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why in the diet you have avocado at one point, but there's no carbs in that for my later meal.
Yep.
So that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, because it's, and also like as you taper into the night, or as you get into the night, you want to taper down on a lot of the carbohydrates, because you don't really want to go to bed with elevated blood sugar. You want to keep your blood sugar minimal, right? So your body can handle.
I was doing the opposite, by the way.
Yeah.
I was a massive amount of pasta and pizza before bed.
Yeah, and so many people do, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And if you go out and read something, you're going to read one thing that says this, and you're going to read one thing that contradicts what you just read.
Yeah.
And that leads people to just be so confused that they're like, well, fuck it, I'm not going to do anything except just keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's the route I was going down, was just whatever I wanted to consume before bed that would make me fall asleep was what I kind of put value on.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's kind of knocking me out, so that's probably the right thing to do. And then you shifted one thing with me, and then I want to go into this one section, this last section we got to hit on, which is you've changed the workout philosophy for how I actually work out in the gym drastically. But before that, I used to always go fast to the gym because I thought, and I felt like I didn't want food in my system, and I thought like I'd perform better with and I wasn't taking a caffeine pre-workout. I was just going in there with like some sort of athletic greens or just a lot of water, really. That was the only thing I was going in with. And then you said, again, another thing that really stuck with me, which was, we need to put a little something before you go to the gym, which for me is a scoop and a half of a whey isolate. So it has like the BCAAs, branched amino acids in it, right? And then an apple. And the reason that before I heard that, but I never really stuck to it. And then you said the reason why, which is because I don't want to butcher it, because you said it's like within 5 minutes your body will go to. You want to explain that part?
Yeah. So what happens when a lot of people like to go into the gym in the morning to train fasted, because they like they like the feeling of their body being light, their digestive process being void of food. Right? There's nothing bogging you down. But if you go in to train fasted under normal circumstances, your body's gonna burn through muscle tissue, right? And it's your body's always looking for the most readily available thing to tap into for energy. So if you don't have any type of aminos or something there for your body to utilize, then in a fasted state, trying to train, it's going to pare down some muscle, which is the last thing we want to do, which is why it's good if you're going to train fasted in the morning to make sure you get some type of amino acids in. And in your case, it's good to have a little bit of carbohydrates too, because we're training pretty intensely, right?
Yeah.
So to meet your goals, training fasted is not something that I would recommend doing, because you're a big guy and we want to keep you big, but we want to lean you out.
Because you're saying that right away your body's faster to go toward the muscle than it is toward
it takes your
fat.
body.
Because I used to think I was going there fasted. I was like, anything I'm burning is fat. I used to be 100% certain in my head that's the only thing I'm burning.
Well, if you go into the gym or you get up in the morning and you do cardio fasted,
because that's what people's counter was. I told that to some. They're like, well, then why do people talk about fasted cardio?
When you do fasted cardio in a steady state, which is zone 1, zone 2,
right,
your body is going to much easier to tap into body fat, right? Because of the heart rate, because of the intensity.
Right. Okay.
But when you crank up the intensity, let's just say you did high intensity in the morning, or you go into a gym to train where you're putting that much stress on your body and you're tearing muscle.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to burn through muscle because it's the most readily available source of energy for your body to use. It takes your body much longer to turn fat into energy than it does muscle into energy. So again, it's like anyone listening to this who goes into the gym to train fasted, like free weights, if you're trying to truly stay fasted for autophagy and all those other things, then you can take some like capsule aminos, which won't fluctuate your blood sugar. Or if you're just training fasted because you don't like to have food on there, then you can drink some amino acids or have a protein shake or something like that, just to give your body a little bit of sustenance before you go in to train.
It's made the workout so much better.
Yeah.
I thought I had great workouts before, but it's made them so much better, especially because they become a lot more arduous. They become a lot longer
Yeah.
and a lot more intense than I've ever trained before.
Yeah.
And I'm not midway through feeling like I'm dying. I used to get like to a point where if I trained really hard for more than 45 minutes, after 45 minutes point, I'm going downhill mentally,
Yep.
but I don't experience that. So those are little nuggets to just apply to what I thought was a base that I grew from I've been training for a long time, but it's like, I'm like, fuck, I'm training for the first time now. And that's what you kind of told me,
Yeah.
which goes into this where I'm training for the first time again. Talk about the philosophy with time under tension, because I've never trained this way. These little tweaks, these little adjustments, even on how I'm doing my legs, like how I'm actually, the range of motion, I'm working them out.
Mm-hmm.
The weight is lighter than I've ever lifted before, so ego has dropped entirely. But I'm feeling like instead of having to work out, I was convinced I had to hit each muscle group 2 to 3 times a week because I had more to give each time. I'd get to like after a day or two of being off that muscle group, I'm like, I'm ready to hit it again. But now, after doing 4 days of hitting each muscle group once, I'm like, I don't want to get back in the weight room at all. I'll go do a Murph, I'll go run, I'll do Metcon, I'll go do solid core, but I want anything to do besides touch another weight. And it's because of this philosophy and this strategy. So I would love for you to dive into that, because I've touched it before, time under tension stuff here and there, like for like one workout in the thing when I just randomly felt it, but I've never applied it across the board.
Yeah. So the training philosophy of time under tension is something that has been around forever. A lot of people don't utilize it because they ego lift, right? So they go in and they want to pack on the weight. And with time under tension, what happens is, time under tension is basically a controlled rep or a controlled rep tempo. So I call it the anatomy of a rep. I say there's 3 parts to a rep. Some people will say 4, some people will say 5, what the fuck ever. It's 3 for me, right? So you have let's just use curls for an example, right? Your concentric,
okay.
You're explosive on the concentric, and then you contract that muscle, right? So 1 to 2 seconds, right? So explode, contract, and then get the negative, right? The eccentric is the negative, and that's around 3 to 5 seconds. And it creates intention around every rep of every set.
I just learned something new, by the way.
What's that?
Because I've been like trying to explode up, but I haven't always been getting that extra
Yeah,
like,
so
you know what I mean?
think about a lat pull down. A lat pull down, a lot of people have a hard time really understanding how to engage their lats, because it's a lot of people they don't think about their back because they can't see it.
Yeah.
So if you do a pull down, let's just say hit a pull down, and then pause at the bottom for like a 2-second beat. What'll happen is when you pause, you're gonna feel your lat contract. It's gonna grab.
Oh, big time today.
Because it doesn't come back up. You got to hold it there, which forces a muscle to contract in the way you want it to. So it starts to change the way you think about training, because you hear about the mind-muscle connection. This allows you to feel it.
This is the way to explain it. I wish fucking people said mind-muscle connection, and then they just gave this demo.
Yeah.
Because it just locked me in. I'm like, that's simple. That's a very simple way. Mind-muscle connection just sounds good.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're doing something you feel. But that little breakdown, I hope someone grabbed that, because that's all you need.
Yeah. And the reason why I feel a lot of people don't embrace this training principle is because it hurts.
Yeah, it hurts.
It creates a lot of lactic acid buildup. And that's through the hypoxia, the lack of oxygen that's happening, right? So there's no break in the muscle. You're not, if you're just flinging weight around, it's like you're engaged and you're not engaged and not. So you're giving the muscle a break.
Is that where oxygen comes in?
Right. Yeah. So
interesting.
By not giving the muscle a break and keeping the tension on the muscle the whole time, the lactic acid just continues to build because there's no oxygen left, because the tension doesn't leave the muscle the entire time. That lactic acid or buildup creates that physiological response in the body, and there's the stimulus for growth. You know what I mean? You have your increase in IGF-1 levels. Like, a lot of stuff happens internally when you train the right way, and when you train this way with legs, because legs is such a hard body part to train in general. I mean, it'll warp your mind in a way that sometimes people who have trained with me before will be scared to train with me again because they know how bad it hurts.
It's almost like a laughter pain. It gets to that laughter. Like if you don't laugh, it's bad.
Yeah,
Like you gotta almost laugh at the pain when it gets to that extreme.
I call training legs like it's like a mental
You
journey.
guys were smiling, by the way. Aaron and Andy. I did legs yesterday, half of legs because I was traveling, but I was using the new range of motion. Which, by the way, my leg
Yeah.
press went down by like 75% in weight. Over no, 150% in weight. I went from like 8 plates to 3 plates and dying.
Yeah.
And when they said they were doing legs tomorrow, they started getting a smile. They started getting a little laugh because they knew. They're like, we need a film guy for. They're like, we're gonna have a film guy. I'm like, you're not gonna bring it for upper body where I can try to show something I got. They're like, no, we're gonna bring a film guy when you go to the dark place. That
Sick,
this is
man.
gonna take you.
Like this is the fun stuff, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And when you can like have some camaraderie around
Yeah.
this, it's a really cool experience because you bond through the pain, and it's really good to have a training partner doing training like this because you'll have to have someone help you get through that pain because it's so intense. That's why, but again, back to the point of why most people don't do it because it really hurts.
Yeah.
But that's where the growth comes from, right? It's like everything in life. If you don't have stimulus, there's no response. As with food, if you eat 2,000 calories every single day, the body gets complacent. If there's no stimulus to your training, the body gets complacent. There's nothing for it to have to adapt to. So the more stimulus you can provide, and also on the health and longevity side of things, going to get into cold plunge, getting into a sauna, doing breath work, doing all these things that force your body to have to adapt. That's health and longevity. That's metabolic flexibility. That's all the things that are going to extend your lifespan in a very healthy way.
And I've noticed too, it's before on time under tension, it'd be every once in a while I'd do something with that kind of philosophy. But now it's everything.
Everything.
It's every single set. It's every single workout. And it is killing me in a way. I'm just excited to see what happens to my legs through this. But I realized from just today alone, sorry, Anthony Fiorentine, I've been a bad workout partner. I've been a bad partner in the gym. Reason being is because we're in the gym together, we're getting after it, and we're not like supporting each other in that way. It's like, okay, this person goes, now you go, and we're not like, like, come on, dude, let's get it. We're not like supporting each other, like cheerleading for each other, but then also like pushing each other to do that extra rep, extra set.
Yeah.
We haven't been doing that. So I'm just watching the way you and Andy kind of were supporting me and supporting each other to go harder and harder and to go darker and darker. I literally right after I go, Anthony, like, we've been doing this wrong together. I was like, here's how we have to do it. He's like, shit. He's like, that's how we got to do it.
Yep.
Because it makes all the difference in how I feel right now. I mean, my lat connection at the bottom, I haven't felt that kind of spot get sore in a long time, even though I've been on the same, some of the same lifts, but just that extra push and that extra guide because you can see you can see from the spectator, like from watching me, if I'm fully engaging or not.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
it's a cheat code.
Yeah. Yeah, and you mentioned something too that I didn't bring up yet, which is range of motion. So range of motion is so important. Like for him doing legs, like him and I both are tall guys. So for tall guys, it's like when you're shortchanging your range of motion, you'll get to a point where you can probably do a lot more weight. But when you start from scratch and you adopt this new training philosophy and you adopt range of motion and you break the plane, you're not bound by any limits anymore, then that's where the growth starts happening. But what happens is you got to drop all the weight, start back over again.
Yeah.
But what you're going to notice is, I would say within the next 1 to 2 months, is you're probably going to end up being stronger than you were before. But now you're stronger in all the weak areas. So it's going to create a level of depth to the muscle that you didn't have before.
Yeah, I think me and probably most other men out there, because a lot of them do the leg press and the squat the way I was doing it.
Yeah.
And once I sent him the videos, because I really hurt my back a week ago, and my recovery time I couldn't even put on pants. My recovery, I went in the bathtub because he said put some Epsom salt in there, go bathtub. I had to get Michelle to help me out of the bathtub because I was like, I couldn't get myself out of the bathtub because of how bad my back hurt. Because on leg press, I was like, okay, it feels light at 3 plates on each side. At 7 plates, it felt light on my legs. At 8 plates, it didn't feel. I feel like I could keep going, but I didn't realize I was keeping my legs a little more narrow, if my feet were wider, but I wasn't like moving my hips out. And so all the pressure, I didn't know this was happening, but all the pressure was getting applied to my lower back, like the spine,
Yep.
was absorbing everything. And then I went to squat and I was doing the same sort of, all the pressure went on my lower back, which explains why my ass has been developing, my glutes are developing, but my quads and hamstrings have not been developing the same. And then I recovered in like a day, and I think that's because of the lack of inflammation.
Yeah.
So that's a miracle in itself, because I was crippled. And now I've made these changes, and I went from 7 to 8 plates on each side, feeling pretty easy, to there. I mean, there's a video of me like going like, like screaming with 3 plates on each side, just getting 10 reps.
Yeah.
So it's been a massive, and I'm like, me and Anthony are like, dude, I'm actually excited for legs, because I thought when I got to like a 405 squat before, but I was doing the same thing, I thought that my legs just don't develop. I thought it was a genetic thing, but I realized I haven't been applying my legs properly my entire life, and changing this one little thing, and it's just like this weird like shift of knee flexion, and just seeing where the weight's distributed. It's giving me a new excitement for leg day. I'm excited for tomorrow. I know it's going to suck, but I'm excited for tomorrow, because I'm like, what are these things actually capable of doing? Because I want to balance out the proportions. My upper body's taking over.
Well, the equipment that you use, like the gym that we have access to here, is much more intentional, and it allows you to have deeper range of motion than a lot of other machines. So that's why, again, back to training and being very intentional about everything you're doing. Like when I'm training, I'm looking for a gym that has the equipment that I need to be able to fully work the exercise and the muscle that I want to work in the way that I need to work it, which is really deep in the range of motion, because I like to get full extension on literally every single thing I can. Expose those weak areas. Once you expose those and then you strengthen them, it's like bulletproofing your whole body.
Yeah, you become capable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm realizing that capable, I think it was Adam talking about, because, Earn It All, Justin and Adam came out to do training with our whole team, and I think 3 people blew it a hammy the first day.
Oh, yeah.
3 people were on the ground, like from doing pretty basic training if you're capable. And I've realized this ability to become capable, like to where you can go do a sprint if you need to where you can get ass to grass if you need to where you can bend over and touch your toes. Like the capability aspect of it has taken on a whole new purpose for me, because that's the longevity part of it I didn't really think about. I was just thinking about stacking muscle, so I had muscle to, go away as I'm older. Yeah. But now I'm like, no, I need to have the range of motion to keep me capable all along the way.
Well, also too, with the time under tension, because it requires you to use less weight.
Yeah.
It's if let's just say you're older, you're injury prone, or you have aches and pains and ailments, it's a way to actually train much more safely, because you're going to keep your tendons and your joints and everything more intact without so much load. Like, you don't have to put that much load on the joint to work your muscle the way you need to work it.
Yeah. I feel like I'm going to be able to perform for a long time now. Because before I was getting heavy on bench, I was trying to get heavy on some squat stuff and some deadlift. And now with this, the weight is so low, I'm like, I don't feel like I'm ever going to get injured if I have the right form now. Like, there's no chance of something drastic happening, like tearing a pec. Yeah. Like, how could it happen at this weight?
I talk about my buddy Mike O'Hearn from time to time.
Good old Mike O.
Because he, if you watch the way he trains, he embodies that whole principle.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? And you look at his whole career, you never see him injured.
Yeah.
Because he's doing it the right way. And the loads that he can put on with that full range of motion in that controlled manner is pretty impressive.
It's crazy, especially when the chest with the thing that goes in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we trained.
But I've seen him doing it. I needed someone like you to explain it before I actually freaking did it. Which I'm hoping this podcast will drop some of that into someone's skull, where they're like, I gotta make these changes, because I've heard enough reason and rationale to why I can do it.
Yeah. Everything you have. I like to just look at everything I do as intentional, because if I'm doing something that's not intentional, I'm wasting my time.
Yeah. So last thing, is there any? If someone's made it to this length and they haven't decided to go all in fitness, that's kind of nuts that they just listen to this just for fun at this point. But if there is some magical person that's gotten to this place and they're still not convinced, or they still think that they don't need to train as hard, because you're right, you see some people at the gym every day that just don't change. Where should they go to make that change? What's the number they need to text? There's not like an ad for it, but it's just like, this is the freaking truth, man. This shit works. I thought I was capable. I thought I was good at what I did. I thought a lot of people in the company were beasts in the gym, and we were all kind of pussies at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We were soft.
I challenge anyone out there who is looking to level their health and their fitness up to text 602-900-8703. Text that number. We will call you back and we will get you on a program. And I promise, if you're committed, I promise if you're dedicated, within 90 days you will come out of it much stronger physically, much stronger mentally, but also going through a full body transformation and understanding food in a completely different way. Not to mention, who you never know who you're going to meet in the community, because we've got a lot of people who are, I don't want to, I don't want to say their names on here, but we have a lot of people in our program who are massively successful in life and entertainment. We cater to everybody and anybody, as long as you're willing to be committed and disciplined and dedicated and just trust the process, right? Because when you come in, too many people come in with the idea of they're 50-50, and you gotta come into it and just be all in. You have enough information, you need a transformation. You can keep watching YouTube videos, and you can keep watching podcasts or listening to podcasts, but at some point you have all the information you need. You have to decide to make the change, and this is where I promise we can do that for you.
I'll say thank you for running through this with me.
Yeah.
This has been one of the best conversations I've had. I've been so curious about so much of this shit. But also, like, this conversation has reinstilled more belief, and I've even got some little nuggets from it to take back to the gym tomorrow and moving forward. I would say anyone listening to this, though, because you can impact your mom, you can impact your friend, you can impact someone in your company. Like, you don't have to be necessarily working with Spartan or working with Elliott Army to be able to make an impact. Like, hopefully there's something here that you're like, dude, if my mom or my dad or my cousin listens to this and they can understand this, they might make a change in their life. Share it with them. I just say share with them, because that's all it takes. And making that impact, speaking from personal experience with your family and friends and people that are close to you, that you love and that love you, making that impact on them is the best thing you could ever do. And if you could change their health, if you could change their life through health and through fitness, it's going to stick around and impact everyone else around them too. So I just challenge you to share that with everybody, because the word's got to spread. I know it's your mission right now. It's my mission too. I feel just as obligated to bring what I'm learning to everyone's plate. So thank you, brother.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
One last thing here. People will be able to follow you and see this journey that you're on with the company, and watch what it's actually like to literally recreate an entire company and an entire culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a side-by-side showing the before and after of the whole company in January.
And from the day one when we met.
Oh, from day one.
Yeah.
I'll put that up there. Appreciate you, brother. Later.